Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips joined by Gamecock Central columnist Scott Davis for a look back at the South Carolina Clemson game this past Saturday night and a beating the Gamecocks suffered Saturday night, 56-7 to final. Scott, you woke up Sunday morning to find out it was not a nightmare, it was not a dream.
Yeah, unfortunately it wasn't, Emerson. Whenever you have one of these games against Clemson, sometimes I described it in the column as almost feeling like a hangover where you know something bad happened, but you're really hoping that as you continue to wake up, you'll realize that it didn't. But deep inside, you know that it did. And so that's the way it felt after this one. I had really hoped. I did not expect South Carolina certainly to win the game or even to come close to doing so, but my goal was that they would go up there and be competitive and get some of these young guys used to playing in this rivalry. And unfortunately, they were overwhelmed from the moment the football was kicked off to start the game, and it was ugly from start to finish. And so I know there are a lot of fans, some younger fans out there who may not have experienced something like this. I know a couple, actually, and they're not used to – they've certainly seen the Gamecocks lose to Clemson, but they've never seen something like this before. Unfortunately, I have, because I've been around this thing for a long time. So you'll survive, but it's not going to be fun, that's for sure.
It was not a dream, but it was a nightmare. I misspoke to open the program. You got some quick tips for survival strategy. Gamecock fans, most of us been down this road before, but for the younger generation, maybe they haven't.
Yeah, I'd stay off Facebook for a while. That's a landmine out there. It's, Facebook can be iffy anyway, but especially at a time like this, I think most people kind of mold their Twitter to reflect the way that they, the opinions that they want to receive. So, for example, on my Twitter, it's just mainly filled with Gamecock-related authorities and players and coaches and things like that. But on Facebook, you're friends with, people you went to high school with, some guy you knew in elementary school for half a second, and family members you barely know, and things like that. And that's why it can be rough out there. You can't, edit it to get all the Clemson propaganda out. So that's a no in my book right now, and will be for a while. And I'm doing other things too. I'm not dropping by message boards, not listening to sports radio. I'm just trying to let this one fade into the rearview mirror as much as I possibly can.
Scott, somehow you ended up at Bed Bath & Beyond on Sunday. Tell us about that.
Well, that was the second bad part of my morning. I wake up, I'm realizing that everything that I thought happened the previous night did, in fact, happen. And for some reason, my wife decided that she was going to be very chipper, happy, chatty, wanted to go out and do a little Christmas shopping and start at Bed Bath & Beyond, where the racks were filled with smiling Santa Clauses and reindeer and lots of good cheer and glad tidings and lots of blaring Christmas music. And I got to tell you, at that particular point in my life, that wasn't exactly the setting that I wanted to spend my Sunday morning. I really just wanted to wallow in my own misery. And probably fortunately for all of us, my wife got me out of the house and got me moving and exposed me to life outside of the Gamecock football bubble. And I guess that's a good thing. But it didn't feel like it at the time.
Scott's new column is up on Gamecock Central. Night of the Living Dread is the headline. Emerson Phillips and Scott Davis with you here on Gamecock Central Radio. We invite you to download the Gamecock Central Radio app. We've got this free phone app that allows you to listen to our GCR podcast on your phone anywhere you receive cell phone service. It is a free app, and you can get it on the App Store and on Google Play. To subscribe to our podcast, search for Gamecock Central Radio on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. A Gamecock fan's guide, how to cope with this lopsided loss on Saturday night. Scott's column is up on Gamecock Central. Scott, no game balls this week. No surprise there.
I couldn't even begin to try to find anywhere to give one other than the game actually ended. Maybe I could have given a game ball to that. But other than that, there just weren't any candidates. I mean, Devo Samuel had a nice game compared to everyone else in a Gamecock uniform. But it was just a total, overwhelming victory for Clemson that was so complete and thorough that there just really weren't any positives to hang your hat on after that one. And like I said, the goal all year has just been to go to 6-6, build some momentum for the future, and the Gamecocks did that. But unfortunately, when this kind of game is the last taste in your mouth that you have about the season, I don't want to say it negates the momentum that I thought would come from a 6-6 finish. I still think it's good that the Gamecocks will be going to a bowl and having some extra practice, but it is hard to look back on this season as a success, which is what I hoped we'd be able to do, finishing 6-6 when you just get totally overwhelmed by your arch rival in that setting, and the talent gap between the two programs just appears to be vast right now.
Scott, you gave out 8 game balls last week when Carolina got its 6th victory, beat Western Carolina last weekend, and quite the about face this week coming off a Saturday night's debacle at Clemson. 8 deflated balls in this week's column.
Yeah, I gave myself a couple. I wrote a column after the Florida game in which I suggested that South Carolina, one thing that was admirable about them in 2016 was that they never got blown out. Every score was competitive. They had at least a puncher's chance in the fourth quarter of just about every game they were playing. And I even mentioned, hey, look, there's still time. You know, they do have to play Clemson on the road, but I don't think we'll see them get blown out. And that's exactly what we did see them do on Saturday night. That was a game that when Clemson scored quickly in the first quarter to make it 14-0, it essentially fell over at that point. So yeah, a lot of deflated balls to go around. Both the offense and the defense for South Carolina got a deflated ball. Neither unit looked at all ready to play or ready to appear on the same field as Clemson's opposing units did. And so there were just quite a few downers about Saturday night.
A guide to help you cope with a blowout loss to your arch rival. Scott Davis's column up on Gamecock Central this week. And Scott, the Gamecocks now get ready for this bowl game, and it's time to flush this loss and focus on what's important. That's 15 extra practices, an extra month of preparation for this young football team to get ready for a bowl game. If the Gamecocks can win it, that would give South Carolina a winning record going into next year, and that would be a little bit of momentum to build on.
Yeah, that's all you can do right now. You got to try to forget this and put it behind you. It's going to be difficult to do it, honestly, but you got to try. Fortunately, they don't have to go play this coming Saturday. They've got, several weeks between now and whenever they'll be playing a bowl game. They'll have plenty of time to practice and try to work out the kinks. But unfortunately, that was a rocket shot of a blow to this team's confidence, I would imagine. Hopefully, in the ensuing month or so between now and when they'll play a bowl game, they'll be able to shake it off and go out there and compete in that thing.
Gamecock fans, been down this road before. You think about 1989, you think about 2004, now 2016 added to the list of lopsided losses to Clemson. So, Scott, Gamecock fans been down this road before. We're not new to this. Gamecock fans are famous for hanging in there and surviving to fight another day.
That's what we'll do, and you're exactly right. I was there for 63-17, 45-0. We've seen it. It's just not fun, and when we were enjoying that 5-year winning streak, I think that's what stings the most, is that we thought, hey, we're not going to beat these guys forever. We're not going to win 15 or 20 in a row, but perhaps we've now reached a point in the rivalry where, we can compete with them, win more often than not, and certainly not go back to the days of getting humiliated and blown out. And I think that's why a lot of longtime Gamecock fans are so down right now. But as we've discussed, this is a place we've been before. We know how to get through this, and we will.
All right, Scott, hope you have a great holiday season here. Will you be back for another column for the bowl game?
Yes, I definitely will, and I'll probably mix in a few other things between now and then, hopefully. And then we'll, as we did last year, I'll be writing some occasional columns about basketball and baseball and various things through the off season. So I'm not going away, and looking forward to that.
Yeah, great time to talk some basketball, isn't it, Scott, with the Gamecocks picking up a couple wins over top 25 opponents last week. Gamecocks may move into the rankings this week also.
Absolutely. That was what was so disappointing about Saturday night, was it completely took all the focus off of South Carolina's win in Brooklyn over 18th-ranked Syracuse, a team that is used to going to the Final Four, that has won a national championship in recent years. And so that was a huge victory for South Carolina, and as was the win over Michigan last week as well. They've looked very good coming out of the gate, and hope they keep it going.
Yeah, the Michigan win was big, but to go to Brooklyn and beat Syracuse, got to believe that's the biggest win of Frank Martin's time at South Carolina. So we'll talk some basketball as we move forward, and we'll get ready for the bowl game as well. Gamecocks should find out this weekend which bowl they'll be headed to and who they'll be playing. Scott, we appreciate the job you do. Thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure, Emerson. Thank you.
All right, the pleasure's mine. Scott Davis, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for joining us.